All right, let's finish it off now with somebody who is going to be in the running for the number one pick, top 5, potentially coming into the year. Somebody that we got to watch in person, work out, and practice for a few days. And then we got to see him in scrimmage and gameplay as well at the Nike Hoop Summit. And that's USC's Isaiah Colllier. So, the book on Collier is super bursty, strong, physical, downhill guard with some real playmaking chops. What were your impressions with Collier, seeing him in person at the Hoop Summit?
With Collier, seeing him in person, dude, I think the first thing that stuck out to me was what you mentioned, right? The burst, just in layup lines. Like when he gets going towards the rim, it feels different from some of the other guys. Him and Bronny at times were kind of mesmerizing to watch, just even in layup lines. Bronny, thoughts and prayers to you, guy, man. Hopefully you're getting better. But when Bronny was healthy, even seeing him going down the lane was awesome. But with Collier, I think physical. Super physical. Like he's got a pretty tough physique to start with. Gets downhill in a hurry. I thought he had a little bit of Kugel where I thought he could benefit from slowing things down a little bit, attacking the rim. I think that's something that he's going to learn and work on in college as well. Kugel was a freshman in college last year, still needed to work. Collier may still continue to need to develop that, where he goes a little bit too fast. But the shot is where I think I have a bit of a question with him that I know we'll get into, and I'd love to hear you talk about it, Corey. But yeah, and like some of the mid-range stuff, I think you need some refinement and tuning, outside jump shot. We'll see. But overall, a guy that I thought had really good passing feel as well. And yeah, I'll stop there for now.
Now, if you go to USC's website,
okay,
Isaiah Colllier is listed at 6'5", 210.
No.
Now, how tall are you?
I'm with shoes on, I'm like 6'3", but yeah, without I'm 6'2", yeah.
Yeah, so we'll give you 6'3" in shoes.
Wait, Corey, can I say something? Every time I meet people in real life that have like listened to the pod or whatever, the first thing they say is, "God damn, you're tall." Like, I guess I look small on camera. Like, I actually met a guy recently. I actually coached him in this tournament that we're in, and the first thing he sees me, he's like, "Damn, you're tall, bro."
Sneaky tall.
I get that a lot, man. I get that
sneaky tall.
Yeah.
Now we went we met all these guys as well at the Hoop Summit. Were you taller than Collier? Do you remember?
I don't want to out him, but we're like, so I was taller than Bronny, but Collier, I think we're like right about the same height.
Yeah, that checks out a little bit more to me. Like, maybe if he was rocking those shoes that you and Rucker both had, the Nikes that you and Rucker both had with the thick heel, like almost like maybe he could get to 6'4".
Yeah,
6'5" is crazy.
It's a goddamn lie.
But with that said, that 6'3", that 6'4", it's stocky and he's strong.
Yeah.
Which is both a good thing and could also be like potentially like is he just like more physically imposing than high school kids type of thing too? Like it could be a double-edged sword type of thing. Yeah, but I think he's so bursty and like quick and shifty that he'll be fine. But yeah, it's the height thing. It felt like right about where you were at. But I just wanted to double check that because when I saw it, I was like, I don't know.
But also, Corey, some of these guys are hard to read. Like, I remember when we first saw Aiden Holloway, we're like, get out of here, dude. You're short. And then, like, I stood next to him. I'm like, oh, like, you actually are what you said you are. So
dude,
weird.
I feel like everybody grew like 2 inches from the practices at the Blazers facility to when they stepped foot on the court at like the Moda Center or whatever, wherever the Blazers play.
Or did we shrink? I don't know. It's weird though. But also they're that age right now, right, Corey, where they just
Yeah.
like sleep and they get taller. So
Yeah,
maybe.
for sure. For sure. All right. Let's get into the actual breakdown of his game and not conspiracies about his height. First thing that, we would say about him is that just an absolute blur in transition, right? Like that's where he really pops off as a, if that would be the first line that I would say, like his straight line speed combined with some of the bounce, just really impressive. Like I think him and Bronny both had like crazy in that scrimmage at Lake Oswego. Like him and Bronny both had these crazy like transition dunks. And like you said, the layup lines really, really fast in a lot of ways. And I think the fact that he's shorter doesn't make it an apt 1-to-1, but and I think he might be a better shooter as well. But in a lot of ways, I think he could parallel like Amen Thompson at times. And as far as like strengths and weaknesses go, but yeah, just really, really, really fun in the open court.
He has another gear, is what it is, Corey. Like some of these guys, they're fast and they go at one speed, but watch Collier at the start where he's trying to collect the ball and then he just goes into the next gear and he's flying and he's gone. And that's like we've talked about fast guys before, compared them to like a Adrian Peterson back in the day for the Vikings. Shouts to Rucker. I hate you. But just kidding. Dalvin Cook, New York Jet, baby. Anyway, but the thing with Collier, though, is he's got another gear, which is special because that is beneficial both in transition, but also in half court settings as well, right? With, his shiftiness, with what he can do with the ball in his hands. Sometimes he'll get going and then he'll get going after that, So I'm with you, dude. He has a burst to him that is pretty special.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're watching like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, and Roadrunner gets going, but he's not actually moving. Like, and he looks like his feet have like a wheel, and then all of a sudden it's just like 0 to 60. Like that's that kind of like his feet get going, that extra gear that you're talking about. Yeah. And then, like that half court, like this is a really impressive pacing from him right here where, he gets the ball up in the half court, gets a little screen, and then whoop, like
goodbye,
straight to the rim. And like, there are 3 guys who should be able to at least do something with him. Like right here, if I pause it, you got the help side guy with almost 1 foot in the paint at the opposite block. You got the guy in front of him. And then, you had the guy who just got screened. And it's like, you would think one of those 3 guys would be able to at least touch him. And he just clean look at the rim. And if they do touch him, he's going to draw fouls. And that's something that he's really good at, right? He's really good at getting to the line. Not so good at finishing once he gets to the line, which is, big improvement area, but really good at pressuring the rim. And, I think that's important, that's a super important thing, because I think even with the lack of a shot, it's something that he's going to be able to do kind of whenever.
No, but Corey, even in this clip, the thing that we're highlighting here that's so impressive is he's so fast that they can't even react to it properly. Dude,
No.
It looks like he's gonna kind of take a second, or like right after he gets off the screen, it looks like he's gonna take a second to maybe read and then react, but it's just he's ready to go. Boom, goodbye. Left hand finish as well, which is something I want to talk about with him. I thought he had a couple of nice left hand finishes where I was like, oh, good, like let's see more of that. But I'm with you, man. Like this type of burst and speed getting into the lane is what you're looking for, right? When you're looking for little advantages all over the floor, the fact that he can get by before the defense can even react is spicy, man. That's a great take.
Big time. And, immediately, I think that's something he's going to be really good at the next level. And even, in some of these scrimmages overseas, which I don't have clips of, but, scrimmaging Mega, and you can go watch the highlights on YouTube. He had a lot of really tough drives and finishes at the rim. So like even against guys that are pros, he's still able to, kind of get dribble penetration into the teeth of the defense at will, which is really important. So now let's talk about kind of the other aspects of his scoring arsenal, some of the shot making or some of the shooting, and, start kind of with the in-between game, which I think is there more so than some of the other stuff. And I think this is a shot that he's going to have to really connect on and continue to work on, because this is a shot that he tends to lean on a little bit more than like a floater.
Corey, that's the one I wanted to ask you about, because I was thinking like the in between game is where he's kind of lacking, dude. He doesn't really have much of a floater to write home about. He loves his mid-range pull-up. That's something I wrote down here in my notes. He loves the mid-range pull-up, but it needs refinement and tuning. My concern is that he doesn't have, one of these these floaters to kind of take down the towers, the trees, the giants, like that's something I think he's got to continue to work on, because having the speed and power to go through guys is great, but continuing to work on this part of the game, I think will take him to another level.
I agree 100%. This is like one of the, great job, like splitting it. And then, so like he has the potential to do it by showing this, because it doesn't look unnatural. But for me, like you said, he'd much rather get to the pull-up, which I think is, if he has both, that's really impressive. Where he tends to get to like more of a floater type shot is when he's trying to draw contact. And like when he gets a step on somebody, he gets a little bit, he feels the physicality, and he's trying to maybe get the ref to blow the whistle and foul bait a little bit. Like right here, he feels the physicality, and it's kind of like a runner floater situation. And that's kind of when he moves away from the mid-range shot and gets into that, this kind of shot type instead. And yeah, it's something that I think he's going to have to figure out. And don't get me wrong, like if he could feel the contact and you get that call, great. But that's when he tends to use that, rather than mixing up when he goes to the floater versus the mid-range jumper. And if he gets both, I think it's going to be devastating, because teams are going to play him for his drives, and he is going to need to counter that, because teams are going to sag off him. Bigs are going to be waiting for him at the rim, especially at the college level when they're allowed to just sit in the paint and sit and help. And, if he can get this counter, as you said, I think it's going to be something that really, really helps him with his efficiency and just his effectiveness and doing things that lead to winning.
Corey, I think the point that you made is so important, because although he's putting up shots like this, a lot of this is very junky, man. Like a lot of it is straight up not really competitive shots, but more just to draw the foul, which I get. Like that's also a huge part of modern basketball. Guys will do that. But I think if we're hoping to project Collier as like an elite guard one day, I just like to see him continue to develop the floater and that in between game. So I'm right there with you, man.
And let's see if he does that.
Yeah,
because these are high school clips. These guys are not. We're not even getting the development of that college year doing this preseason stuff. The fact that he has this room to grow is what makes it so enticing. He's not if he already had this stuff, he would probably be the hands down number one pick in this class. Yep. It's the fact that he still has all of these avenues to improve is what makes that potential, so intriguing. All right, let's talk about the shooting. Because there are flashes, but there are also the more consistent non-flashes, I would think. I recall being at the Hoop Summit, trying to get a video before tip-off to post on socials of his jumper form, and just going, all right, delete that video, just trying to get a make. And it took a little bit, because he's just an inconsistent shooter right now. So this possession, team's in a zone against him, right? So he's just going to call for a little screen, pull up, air ball. There's a lot to work on here with the shot.
Corey, it's hilarious that you brought up that example, because that's exactly what happened to me. I actually posted on my story him like taking a shot and missing, and one of my homies texted me is like, hell no, you did not just tag him in a missed jumper. And I was like, dude, I was trying to get a good one of him making one, but he missed so many during warmups, it was hard. So look, Corey, I think the point that we're both trying to make is that I don't think he's a bad shooter. I think, like, especially if you see him in the mid-range, there's stuff to like there. It's just he's got to fine-tune it. And I think it's really important. And this is something that we say a lot on our pod, but we just kind of want to reiterate right now for if there are any new listeners or whatever. When we do these scouting reports, Corey and I, we're not making definitive statements about these guys. These kids are 17, 18 years old. We fully understand that there is a long path of development for all of these guys. But for where Collier is right now as an outside shooter, it needs a lot of work. I think he's similar to Hansberry in that when he's open, I think a lot of times it does look pretty damn good. It's, when he gets contested, when he's shooting off the dribble, these are the areas where he's got to continue to fine tune. And it comes from straight up just him taking more shots, right? The more reps that he has, the cleaner this is going to get. And with college coaching there at USC, I think there's a lot to like there. It's just right now where he's at in his development is he's not a good shooter. I wouldn't classify him as a good shooter, but I think he's got good tools to eventually become a good shooter.
And he can make the shots.
Yes.
Right. And, look, the free throw percentage, bad.
Yes.
The shooting percentage, bad. But he's not afraid to get to the line, and he's not afraid to take these pull-ups. And if you remember when we were doing the preseason pod for Amen Thompson last year, one of the things that we said was we want to just see him attempt more shots. We want to see him not be afraid to take these pull-ups. When guys are sagging off, when guys are giving him space, shoot that thing. When you get a drive and kick, let it fly without hesitation. And I think Amen did that a little bit more than he did in his second OTE year than he did his first OTE year, but he didn't do it enough that you go, all right, I could feel confident projecting him as a shooter going forward, other than the fact that he's a crazy hard worker and you buy into the work ethic. Isaiah Colllier is not afraid to take these shots, and this is pretty nice right here at the EYBL. Nice combo move, right? Tough, like smooth. This looks like it's been repped out and fleshed out and worked on with a trainer. One-on-one ISO between the legs, step, bang. So he shoots it from deep. And the fact that he's a willing shooter means that he's willing to fail. And, I don't want him to settle too much. I definitely don't want him to settle too much. But I also want him to feel confident in taking these shots, because this is how he goes from being like a bet-worthy guard to like a potential all-star bet.
No, Corey, yes. Yes to all the above, man. I think with him, look, everyone, if you listen to our pod regularly, you know that I was not an Amen Thompson guy at all last season, a guy that I pretty consistently had pretty low on my board compared to the general consensus. But the main reason why is what you just brought up, Corey. When we looked at film of year one of OTE for Amen Thompson, it looked like he was scared, man. There were a lot of times that he just refused to put up shots, and that was the biggest concern for me, right? The unwillingness to take the shots. Collier doesn't have that problem. He's not shy. With Collier, he's a guy that wants to put shots up. He wants to kind of be aggressive and kind of put, his stamp on the game. And that's the type of stuff that gets you excited, because once again, I think there are good tools and a good foundation where, with more fine tuning, the shot will be good. But the thing is, if he's willing to take them, then that process of him getting better gets expedited, right? Because he's not afraid to take the shots in game against real competition. That's the type of stuff where you get real growth. So I'm with you, man. I just like the mentality that Collier plays with.
Now, in breaking down the mechanics of it, he's like a strong dude, which we've touched on. It feels like a lot of times guys who have that extra muscle and build struggle with touch, and I think he's one of those guys. I think sometimes he's got a slight elbow flare that kind of makes his shooting a little bit inconsistent. And then he kind of shoots it instead of how Clay will square up straight up, almost to the side of his head. If you go through the BEEF acronym, you learn as a kid, perfect. He kind of goes in front of his face a little bit, but it isn't that one motion shooting form that somebody's got. So I don't know. It leads to some inconsistencies. I think the footwork is okay. Sometimes, he's not in sync with the top and bottom of his body, but it's not completely broken. I think it's fixable. but I think that his lack of touch is something that's going to always hinder him from being like a plus shooter. You know, even like a guy like Davion Mitchell, who had a really good, you know, shooting percentage in his last college year and has, you know, just been at best mediocre, you know, at his best in the NBA as a shooter. You could tell like the strength kind of hampers him at times. So I think it's something he's always going to struggle with. But hey, if he can knock some of them down, you know, enough that you really do have to play up on him, I think that's all he needs to get to.
Yeah, no, I agree, Corey. And also you see like some of the touch issues with what we talked about before, right? Like on the floaters and the in-between stuff. It is something that he's got to correct. It kind of permeates through all of his shooting. So that's something he's got to work on. But thankfully for Collier, and I think you're going to transition here, I like the fact that, you know, scoring isn't the only aspect of his game. You know, he's got some passing feel and playmaking to him.
100%. And some really, really like impressive playmaking chops too. You know, I don't think we got to see that a lot in person at the Hoop Summit, just based on like the style of play. But this is a dime, man, coming off the ball screen. You know, like, look, I don't think he's got that like LaMelo Ball type feel, the Josh Giddey, the Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, where he's like manipulating the defense entirely, but he does have a little bit of it. And he's got a lot of really good improvisational skills. And he throws some bullets.
Some Stephon Marbury in him.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's a very good comp, right? There's a lot of Stephon Marbury, a lot of Starberry in Isaiah Colllier. Make of that what you will.
We're not talking about Beijing Ducks.
Hey, can't argue with 20 and 8 every year.
Hey, exactly, Corey. Like it's not a slight against Collier at all. Like the type of athleticism, the physicality, some of the passing stuff we're seeing here. 20 and 8 is good, dude. It's good. So could be a comp.
That could definitely be a comp. But yeah, this is a really slick read off the ball screen, switch to go to the ball, late rotation. Bullet. Now this next clip, Wheeler's got to go in a hurry. They're down 9. There's a minute left. Hit ahead, get it back. Little set play, but still the fact that they're able to execute that quickly, and he's able to quarterback it and nail the pass, nail the passing location, the timing of it, the spot.
He threw it to the spot, dude.
Threw it to the spot. Trusted his man to get to the corner. Just an absolute dime, like quarterback shit. One-handed jump pass in the air, and it's a big shot to get his team within 6 with a minute to go. You know, if he doesn't make this pass, you know, the way he makes it, you know, maybe the defender is able to close out in time. It's a really impressive read, even if it is, you know, something that is, you know, looks like more of like a drawn up set.
But Corey, the thing that's so impressive about this pass is that like we get impressed with weak side hits, but this is one where he's in the air, throws it one-handed, and he doesn't throw it to the man, he throws it to the spot, bro. He threw him open with that pass. That is freaking so hard to do. And as you mentioned, in a high leverage situation, drawn up play, even if it is drawn up, the fact that he's throwing it to a spot like that and getting his man open just because of the location of where he threw the ball, that is nasty, dude.
Yeah, great job by everybody on the team there, executing the screeners. The timing is right. And look, he puts on the jets to get open, like in the open court, throws it ahead. It's a really, really, really fun read there. But he's got some of the, you know, the more nuanced, kind of slow down, half court, come off the screen, just throw it up. Nice and soft. You know, it doesn't have to be these bullets. He's got a little bit of touch to him too.
Corey, I think I'm gonna lock this down, dude. I think I'm gonna put him down as Stephon Marbury as his NBA comp, dude. The more we watch it, the more I'm feeling it. But you're right, dude. The thing, and you know what, Corey? We didn't see a lot of it at Hoop Summit, but we did see some of it. And I think what we didn't see were the highlight plays, but plays like this, right? Little pocket pass, little alley-oop, a little, you know, pick and roll, him manipulating things with the dribble, and then dropping off nice little, nothing too complicated, too crazy, but The reads were there. The touch was there. This is the type of stuff that I did think we saw at Hoop Summit, which gets you excited because he's got some of the highlight worthy stuff, but also, you can run the offense through him as well because he's going to make like nice little tidy passes like this that maybe don't put you on, ESPN top 10 every single night, but keeps the offense moving, keeps the motion going, keeps bodies moving, plays moving, and gets you some simple offense as well. So I'm right there with you, man. I think he's got some real passing chops to him.
The other thing is too, like, he's probably got a little bit more chemistry with guys that he's played with,
sure.
A bunch. Like at Hoop Summit, you're building chemistry with a new batch of guys. Then, I was talking to an NBA executive and, I was talking about like, cause, Team USA wasn't always so locked in at the practices. And, they're like, he was like, look, they've been bouncing around from McDonald's to this, to that, they're just kind of pacing themselves. And so we didn't see the full gamut of what all of these guys have either in those settings, but really, really impressive stuff. And then after we watch this alley-oop pick and roll lob one more time, let's hit it with the last clip of the show. And he's got the improvisational stuff too, where he uses that ability to get into the teeth of the defense, to drop it off. I mean, this is some serious stuff, and it's very Stephon Marbury-esque in the way he's using that speed, that strength to get into the paint, and that vision with the no-look, sweet little drop pass. That might be the best comp that we've had for a player.
Dude, I know sometimes my 90s comps are not the best, but I think we hit the nail on the head with this one. But Corey, I'm with you, dude. Like the thing that is so impressive with him is like his speed, him going that extra 0.5 speed really makes it hard for defenses to react. Like unless we're talking about like elite defenders, like all the defenders on this play look absolutely lost, man. Like they don't even know where he's at. Like once he gets past them, it's pretty impressive stuff. And as you mentioned, that's a really great pass. So he's a lot of fun, dude.
That burst is silly, man.
It's crazy. Next gear. Yeah. Come on, dude.
Because it's not even the first step burst. It's the second step burst. Right? Like beats his man off the first step. And then here, that defender tries getting up to the level. See ya. And it's the change of direction, that running back. Really impressive stuff.
Hit that hole, boy.
He hits the hole, man. He hits the hole. This dude would have been a problem on the football field for sure.
Sure, dude. Running back for sure.